Welcome to Zucchini Larceny, where I'll be making zucchini chocolate chip cookies from Chapter 13 of Barbara Kingsolver's Animal Vegetable Miracle. Let's get started. Alexa,
The station, 70s Rock, on Amazon Music.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, my chapter in the book was titled Zucchini Larceny, and I'm going to voice over the rest of my presentation on my chapter. Kingsolver begins her July with weeds overcoming her garden. She lists a variety of weeds that I didn't even know existed, including pokeweeds, pigweeds, quackgrass, crabgrass, and purslane, which she actually prepared and ate later on. So one of the largest challenges in organic farming is the fighting and preventing of weeds, even more so than insects, because organic farmers don't use herbicidal chemicals. Kingsolver uses a mulching system to act as a natural weed barrier, putting down about 2 to 3 inches of mulch to block access to sunlight so the weeds won't have enough energy to push through. But a system like hers is actually impractical for large-scale organic farming operations, so to battle the weeds, organic farmers employ multiple different tactics. The first one is a thick, fast-growing crop stand, which is necessary in organic farming, as a thin stand increases light and opens space up for weeds to germinate and thrive. In addition to this, cover crops, which are planted to manage soil erosion and fertility, go hand in hand with this idea, with year-round vegetation limiting weed opportunities and providing allelopathic properties. Despite the struggle with the unwanted pesky plants, Kingsolver reasons that it's worth it to see the marvelous and unaccountable accumulation of biomass that makes for the hallelujah of a July garden. And soon, she is able to reap the rewards of her hard work, as the weekend of July 4th brings a bounty of produce. Carrots, onions, garlic, potatoes, snap peas, tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplants, and squash come in unmentionable quantities. Aside from being therapeutic, Kingsolver mentions how it's almost addicting to go out into her garden and take a break from her day job inside. Most other gardeners she knows are the same way. Why? She reasons that it's probably within their DNA. Sometime around 12,000 years ago, our hunter-gatherer ancestors began the transition to farming, and then a few centuries later, they eventually switched to farming full-time, breeding both animals and plants. All the important crops that we eat today were most likely domesticated around 5,000 years ago, with populations creating small agricultural economies based on whatever produce was at hand. After gaining the skills to maintain and increase their food supply, communities eventually then settled to build cities and onto empires. Nowadays, when it comes to farming, things are far different from our agrarian ancestors. As we make our way towards bigger commodity farms, whole farming communities are left bare. Regionally, we are addressing these issues, mandating the purchase of locally grown foods in many public facilities. However, in some instances, this may be unnecessary, as we've seen a boom in organic farming recently, with more than 4 million acres of U.S. farmland now devoted to organic agriculture, and organic food sales ending nearly 9% higher in 2018 than 2017, surpassing $21 billion. Kingsolver says this is because many of us still have some element of farm nostalgia in our family past, real or imagined, and that the rising popularity of gardening individually is evidence of this as well. In the excerpt from Stephen L. Hopp, he argues how one lacking massive acreage in their backyard like Barbara Kingsolver can still grow their own food. Whether it be a small yard, a porch, a balcony, or even a sunny window, you can still contribute to your local food economy in an urban area. And if you're not a landowner, chances are your community hosts their own garden, either run by volunteers for fun or used to accommodate a specific group. For further information, according to Hopp, you can go to the American Community Garden Association site and see if there are any gardens in a location near you. In Camille's excerpt from her mother's book, she recounts a heavenly-sounding day consisting of the collection of cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, peppers, and cherries from their garden. They bake bread, grill zucchini, and mix a boiled concoction of honey and water with the cherries to pour into the ice cream maker after supper. They relish in their meal, describes Camille, as they had a relationship with it, because they got to see all of the food grow on their plants from tiny seeds to jungles. To continue, the abundance of squash the family had grown in this chapter became quite prevalent. Once again, it's a list with names that sound like a foreign language to me. patty pans, crook necks, golden zucchini, and costata romanescas, which are Italian heirlooms that offer up a distinctive nutty flavor. Over the next few weeks, Kingsolver would bring in dozens upon dozens of squash, finding her kitchen overflowing with the fruit, which many mistake for a vegetable. Desperately needing places to put them to avoid food waste, they became creative in their recipes, throwing zucchini in whatever they could. This is where my recipe for zucchini chocolate chip cookies was born. Camille made them for her sister's birthday party, and in her words, they passed the 10-year-old test, where the kids could not even distinguish the taste of the zucchini amongst the flour, honey, and chocolate chips. So this recipe was a lot of fun to make, and it contains eggs, butter, brown sugar, honey, vanilla extract, white flour, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, zucchini, and chocolate chips. And I think I'll definitely be making these again because they taste much better than my original chocolate chip cookies.